Hi there, welcome back to Posture Labs and Alignment Fundamentals. My name is Emma. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are on episode 12 and we will be covering extended side angle pose or Utthita Parsvakonasana. So I will guide you into side angle pose first and then we'll do the extended part. I would recommend you watch our Warrior 2 tutorial before you begin this one, as the feet setup is the exact same. So that will save you some time. I will briefly explain that in this video, but it might be helpful to watch that one first if you're new to yoga. I would recommend having a block nearby if you have one. If not, don't worry about it. I always give you options with and without blocks. Let's go ahead and get started on the right side first. So I want your hips open towards the long edge of the mat and your right heel lining up with your left arch. Your stance is pretty wide, enough so that you can bend your right knee almost 90 degrees. I explain all of this in the Warrior 2 video if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the feet placement, but I'm going to assume you have a good foot set up to begin your extended side angle pose. We'll meet in that Warrior 2 position, arms reaching out nice and wide. Now first, kind of like in our triangle pose, I'm going to have you reach forward. So my right hand is going to reach forward beyond my right foot. I'm going to tick-tock the right arm, maybe bring the elbow to the thigh to start, and the left arm up. Now this is where I recommend everyone begin. Elbow, thigh, so you can kind of feel the stretch through this left side. You can feel the work in the legs. Now you might notice here you're really gripping with your right toes. Try to press down more through your heel. You also want to roll to the outside edge of your back foot. Really press that down. Squeeze your glute muscles together to maintain open hips, and think about your tailbone going towards your left heel. Now from here, I might like to extend my top arm overhead. However, instead of just extending, that's fine, it's okay, but you're going to feel more length if you first reach your left hand forward in front of you. So almost like you're going to hold, like you could clap your hands. So left palm facing down, right palm up. Then I'm going to sweep the left arm overhead, palm face down, and find a gentle lean back over the right thigh. Now I'm going to feel a lot of length through my left side. Now when I say lean back, I don't mean super arch your back. I just mean try not to dump forward. A lot of people dump forward in this pose, especially if they really want to put their hand on the mat. So you will see people put their hand on the mat, and for some people with their anatomy, that is the perfect pose. However, a lot of us look around and see people doing that, and that's what we want to do. However, a lot of people are compromising the pose when they do that. You're putting the hand on the mat and now you're dumping your torso forward. So I'm not getting as much length through the left side. I'm definitely not engaging my core here. And I'm not lengthening my spine. You know, I'm kind of dumping and rounding into my spine actually here. I'm definitely not engaging my legs as much as I could be. So I recommend elbow to thigh, or this is where your block might come in handy. You can put the block inside your foot to start. Start with the tall height and then adjust from there. Now this way you're pressing down into the block, expanding your chest. You can see my elbow still basically at my thigh, so pretty much the same position. But now my arms are extended, so I feel a little bit more length through my entire chest and collarbones. Again, I might like to reach the left arm forward and sweep it overhead, get a lot more length. I want to feel a stretch, length, from the outside edge of my left foot all the way through my left pinky finger. So at this point, you might notice if your hand is too far down, you're creating more of an arced shape than a nice straight line. So that's when you would want to use a block or bring your elbow to your thigh. A lot of people get really caught up in doing the most advanced or furthest version of the pose that they can when they don't realize they could be getting a lot more out of the posture if they just did a modification and they'd be doing it correctly. So keep that in mind. You want a nice straight line from the outer edge of your back foot through your pinky finger, not a curve like a rainbow. All right, let's go ahead and do the other side. So again, you can put the block inside your foot. I like medium height when I use a block here. Line my left heel up with my right arch, squeeze glute muscles together. Take some of that curve out of the low back by engaging your core and tucking your pelvis slightly. Reach left hand forward and down. Find the block and reach the right arm up. Now you might roll to the inside edge of your back foot. Try to press that down. Notice your left toes. Let them be light. Reach your right hand forward and then sweep it overhead. Find a lot of length through the right side. Feel a gentle lean back over your left thigh. Pull the belly button back towards the spine. You might notice your ribs are kind of flaring out here. Try to tuck the ribs in. Pull the tailbone towards the right heel. Maybe look up under your right tricep. Try to avoid your hand just falling limp like this. Active arm, active fingers. Limp like this, there's not going to be as much energy going through the length of your body. Keep it nice and strong for 3, 2, and 1. Come back up. Now you also have the option to put your hand outside of your foot, kind of like we would do in Ashtanga primary series. Now, for me, I know my body, I can do this, but I don't think, to me, it's the best. It's not what works best for me, and it doesn't look as nice as having a nice straight line. So I will show you, and feel free to use a block again, because I think the block can be helpful here. So now this time I'm going to put the block on the outside of my foot. Maybe go down to a low height or medium height. When you use a block, really try not to grip. I mentioned this in our last video. Try not to grab the sides of the block. That's going to make you feel actually super stable. But part of the pose, is having a flat palm, and you don't have that thing to grip onto. So really try to just use a flat palm if you're using a block. Line your right heel up with your left arch. Reach your arms in opposite directions. All right, let's go ahead. We're doing right side. Reach your right arm forward and down. Now this time I'm going to the block that's on the outside. So my right knee is going to want to fall in. However, when you have the block inside the foot, you can use your elbow to kind of press the knee outwards and get that external rotation. Now you have to do that all on your own. So you really have to think about squeezing the glute muscles together and externally rotating this right thigh. So the right inner thigh is going up and the outer thigh is spiraling down. I'm pressing my right knee back into the arm and opening up my chest. So it definitely requires some more work on this front leg. Stamp the right heel down, light toes, maybe top arm extending. You will notice if you kind of disengage, the right knee is going to fall inwards. I want to keep pressing that out. Try to avoid arching the back, knit the ribs in slightly. And we'll come back up and do that on the other side. Put the block outside of your left foot, whatever height is necessary. Line your left heel up with your right arch. Reach your arms in opposite directions. Reach your right hand forward and down to the block. Now you're pressing your left knee outwards into the left elbow and the right arm is going up. You got to keep that connection with the knee to the elbow or the forearm, wherever it is touching on your left arm. And you'll notice as the left knee starts to fall inwards. So you might even like to shift some weight towards like the outside edge of the left foot a little bit. Reach your right arm forward and then sweep it overhead, extending. The Utthita is the extending part. So you could also just do regular side angle. When you extend your top arm, that's where the Utthita name comes in. Avoid gripping the mat, avoid gripping the block. Press down with your palm and the outer edge of your right foot. Knit your ribs, 3. Breathe, 2. And 1, bring it back up. All right, so those are a lot of different options for your extended side angle pose. I recommend starting elbow to thigh. However, avoid dumping into your elbow. So you're not resting here. If you were to lift your elbow up, I would like your torso to stay in the same position. So you're using mostly your leg and your core strength. When you're resting your elbow on your thigh, you can kind of play around with lifting that bottom elbow up, and your body shouldn't move too much. If it does, you're putting way too much weight into that arm, and you need to use more of your legs and your core strength. I always recommend people start with elbow to thigh. Don't get so caught up in getting your hand down onto the mat. Feel free to use the block. For me, the block works way better. You can do hand to mat if that works for you, but as you'll see here, I'm kind of compromising a little bit as I can't really scoop this left glute underneath me, and ideally I want my hips to be pretty open. Maybe you use your fingertips. If you really, really need to do hand to the mat, you can use your fingertips and you'll get a little bit more leverage. But I would like you to think more about stacking the hips and kind of scooping this bottom glute underneath you. So I find I can't do that as well when I put my hand on the mat because my torso is dumping a little bit more forward. That's just my personal experience, and I find that most people find the block really, really useful in this pose. If you have any questions, comments, concerns about extended side angle, or you have different cueing or different ways of explaining it that are helpful to you, please feel free to let me know. I'm always open to your suggestions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.